In the heart of a bustling metropolis, unnoticed by the eyes of the ordinary, a hidden network began to take form. For centuries, humanity had been observed from the shadows by an advanced alien race known only as the Echoes. These beings, enigmatic and patient, had never shown themselves to the human eye. Their purpose was not conquest, but study, a long-term experiment designed to understand the complexities of human existence. The Echoes had arrived long before written history, their ships hidden deep within the Earth's orbit, far from prying eyes. They had watched as humanity grew, slowly evolving from primitive apes into the complex, emotional beings they were today. But the Echoes were more than mere observers. Their understanding of time and space was far beyond human comprehension, and it was this mastery that they intended to use to guide their experiments. Over time, the Echoes began to establish a secret infrastructure beneath the surface of the Earth. They constructed vast, hidden chambers, echo chambers, that could warp the very fabric of reality. These chambers were not mere physical structures but intricate devices that could manipulate time, space, and even the flow of alternate realities. The Echoes understood that by distorting these elements, they could grant humans access to experiences beyond their own understanding, experiences that would alter their very nature. The first echo chamber was activated in a remote corner of the world, an unassuming location where the Echoes had set up their base of operations. The chamber, buried deep underground, was unlike anything humans had ever seen. It was a place where time was fluid, where moments from the past and glimpses of the future coexisted in a chaotic, beautiful dance. Those who entered this chamber would be pulled from their current timeline, forced to confront alternate versions of themselves, to experience past regrets, future possibilities, and all the other infinite timelines that could have been. And so it began. Unbeknownst to anyone, a small group of carefully selected humans were brought to these chambers. The Echoes watched, studied, and waited. They were not yet ready to reveal themselves. The time would come for that later. The first subject was a young man named Alex Carter, a brilliant but troubled physicist. Alex had always been fascinated by the mysteries of time and space. It was his obsession, his life's work, and the very thing that had alienated him from friends and family. His mind raced with equations and theories that no one else could understand. But in truth, Alex was haunted. He felt as if there was something he was missing, something fundamental about the nature of existence that always seemed just beyond his grasp. One day, after an exhausting day at the university, Alex received an invitation, an enigmatic note left at his doorstep. The letter simply read, "Do you want to see what lies beyond the confines of your reality? We can show you the answers you seek. Come alone." Curiosity overcame him. He followed the directions scribbled on the back of the note, leading him to a nondescript building at the edge of town. Inside, a door appeared, out of place, almost too perfect for the environment it was in. He stepped inside, his heart pounding in his chest. The chamber was cold, sleek, and unnervingly silent. The walls shimmered with an ethereal glow, and at the center, a pedestal rose, encasing what seemed like a swirling vortex of light and energy. Alex stepped closer, drawn to it. He had no idea what he was getting himself into, but the urge to know, to understand, was overwhelming. As he touched the pedestal, the room seemed to dissolve around him. He was no longer standing in the cold, empty chamber. Instead, he found himself in the middle of a forest, one that seemed familiar, yet alien. He looked down at his hands. They were younger, smoother. In fact, everything about this place was strangely familiar but twisted, like a dream that danced just out of reach of clarity. He began to walk, his mind racing with possibilities. Was this some kind of lucid dream? Had he somehow crossed into another dimension? The trees seemed to whisper in a language he couldn't understand, and the sunlight filtering through the canopy cast strange shadows. But there was something more, something deeper in this forest that called to him. Suddenly, he felt a presence. A figure appeared in the distance, walking toward him. As it drew closer, he realized it was himself. A younger version of himself, standing there, watching him with wide, confused eyes. Alex froze. It was him, his past self, from a time he had almost forgotten. The version of himself before his obsession with time and space had consumed him, before he had pushed everyone away. But this was not just a memory. It was more real than any dream. The young Alex reached out, a hand trembling as if he were trying to touch the older Alex. The older Alex stood frozen, unsure of what to do. But then something inside him stirred, some primal instinct, and before he knew it, he reached forward, his hand brushing against the younger version of himself. And in that instant, the forest around them shattered, the trees crumbling into nothingness. The world blurred, and Alex found himself falling through the void. When he finally hit the ground, he was no longer in the forest. The chamber had returned, but it had changed. The walls pulsed with a strange energy, and the swirling vortex at the center was now a vast, spinning web of lights. It was as if the entire fabric of reality had unraveled before his eyes. He looked around, trying to make sense of what had just happened. What had he just seen? Was that really his past, or was it something else entirely? He had crossed a line that blurred the boundaries between time and space. And then, a voice, calm and soothing, echoed through the chamber. "Welcome, Alex Carter. You have begun to understand. But this is only the beginning." The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, and Alex realized, with a shock, that he was not alone in the chamber. He turned, his eyes wide with fear and awe, as the chamber seemed to pulse once more, drawing him deeper into its strange, alien embrace. "Your journey," the voice continued, "has only just begun." And with that, the chamber flickered, and Alex's world collapsed into darkness. When Alex awoke, he was no longer sure where or when he was. The chamber, if it could even still be called that, had shifted. The once sleek, sterile environment was now overlaid with strange, glitching echoes of other places, other times. As though reality itself had been smudged, twisted in ways that his mind could not fully comprehend. For a moment, he wondered if it had all been a dream, but then he realized something was fundamentally different about him. The first thing Alex noticed was the way his mind felt. It was sharper, clearer, almost as if it had been expanded. Thoughts flowed through him like a torrent, and every equation, every question he pondered in the past seemed within his grasp. But beyond that, there was something deeper, more unsettling. He could feel the space around him. He could sense the very fabric of reality stretching and bending, like thin threads of a vast cosmic tapestry. It was as if his awareness of time, of the world, had been altered irrevocably. Alex raised his hand instinctively, but when he did, the air around his fingers shimmered, distorting in a way that felt wrong. But he wasn't afraid. He was curious, perhaps more than he had ever been. The voice, that soothing, omnipresent voice, spoke again. "You have changed, Alex Carter. You are no longer the man you were. You have crossed the threshold." His heart raced. "What do you mean?" he demanded, his voice sounding distant, like it was coming from somewhere else. "You have entered the echo chamber, Alex. This place exists between timelines, between worlds. It is a space of infinite possibilities, where time and reality bleed into one another. And you," the voice paused, as though considering its next words carefully, "you have been altered. Like all those before you." "Altered?" Alex whispered. He looked around, still trying to make sense of his surroundings. He wasn't sure if it was a room anymore. There was no clear space, only shifting energies and fractured visions of places he couldn't quite place. "Your mind has been opened, Alex. The echoes have been watching, studying, waiting for the right moment to begin our experiment. You have now been chosen to be part of something greater, a shift in humanity's very nature." "What experiment? What do you want from me?" Alex's voice cracked slightly, as if the realization of something beyond his understanding had begun to seep into his bones. "The experiment is simple, yet profound. The echoes have existed long before humanity. We have explored all facets of time and space. Now, we have decided to bring you along for the journey. To unlock what lies dormant within you, and others like you. We will make you something more. Alex's mind raced as the words echoed in his thoughts. More? What could that even mean? Suddenly, the chamber shifted again. The shimmering walls now pulsed, revealing flashes of scenes from his life, memories, yes, but not quite his own. Alex saw versions of himself he didn't recognize. In one, he was standing at a podium, lecturing to a room full of people. In another, he was walking through a cityscape he'd never seen, but it felt eerily familiar, like he was meant to be there. In yet another, he was holding a child's hand, walking through a park on a sunny afternoon. The images kept changing, fast, too fast for him to comprehend, until one final vision halted them all. Alex stood before an immense star, its light pulsing with an unnatural frequency. He could feel it, deep within his chest. The pulse of the star matched the beating of his heart. It was as if the universe itself was synchronized with his existence. And the strangest thing of all was that this moment, this vision, felt inevitable. He was supposed to be here. Then, just as quickly as it had started, the images faded, and Alex was alone again, standing in the center of the chamber, feeling more disoriented than ever. The echoes have seeded these chambers across the world. Alex, the voice continued, hidden in plain sight. They are designed to pull you into your own potential, your true self. And with each subject we bring in, the effects multiply. Alex took a step forward, his body moving with a newfound ease that didn't feel like his own. He had an overwhelming sensation that he wasn't just controlling his movements with his mind, but that he was somehow synchronizing with the space itself. Time seemed to slow and bend around him, his every motion becoming a ripple through the air. The voice spoke again, its tone more urgent now, as if something had shifted. You are experiencing the change. You will now begin to understand the power you hold. But there are others who have undergone the same transformation. Some may seek to understand, while others will seek to dominate. Dominate? Alex asked, his voice a strange mix of curiosity and fear. Yes, you are not alone in your awakening. Others, like you, have entered the echo chambers. Their changes, however, may not be as controlled as yours. As more subjects are exposed, as more humans undergo the transformation, the boundaries between us, the echoes, and you, the humans, will blur. Alex clenched his fists. He could feel the energy swirling within him, a potential he had never known before. But now, he had a terrible realization. The echoes were not just shaping humanity. They were manipulating it, pulling strings, testing limits. They were creating something new, something powerful, but at what cost? Who are you? Alex demanded, suddenly desperate for answers. What are you really trying to do? What is your endgame? The voice seemed to pause, as though considering whether to answer. The endgame, Alex, is the creation of a new evolution. We will unlock the latent potential in all humans. We will give you the ability to manipulate the fabric of reality itself, time, space, and all the timelines in between. Alex's head spun. This was not just an experiment anymore. This was something far bigger. And the implications, he couldn't even begin to fathom them. Will we control it? Will we be free? He whispered, fear creeping into his voice. Some will, the voice replied, but not all. As with any experiment, there will be failures. And when failure occurs, the consequences can be catastrophic. Suddenly, the floor beneath Alex's feet trembled, and a deep rumble echoed through the chamber. It wasn't just the chamber shaking. It was as if the very fabric of reality was being torn apart. Alex, the voice warned, you must be careful. The power you now hold is volatile. You are part of something much larger. If you and the others cannot control it, chaos will follow. The chamber cracked open, a blinding light spilling out. Alex felt himself being pulled toward it, his body unwillingly moving toward the light. In that moment, he realized the terrible truth. He had already crossed a line from which there was no return. The experiment was no longer something he could simply observe. It was his new reality. And he was powerless to stop it. The blinding light enveloped Alex, and for a moment, everything was lost. His thoughts, his sense of self, all fragmented and scattered like broken glass, falling through infinite space. He felt time twist around him, pulling him in every direction at once. He couldn't grasp hold of anything, not even his own mind. It was as if his very existence was being unraveled. Then, as quickly as it had begun, the light vanished. Alex's body slammed against solid ground, and he gasped for breath, the world around him slowly reforming into focus. The chamber was gone, replaced by a vast, empty landscape that stretched to the horizon. It was alien, like nothing he had ever seen. A sky filled with swirling colors, pulsating in sync with his own heartbeat. The ground beneath him was cracked, as though it had been shattered and pieced together again in a way that defied logic. He stood up, feeling the weight of his body more acutely now, the pull of gravity stronger than it had been moments before. The air was thick with a strange energy. His senses were heightened. He could hear the hum of something in the distance, a low, rhythmic pulse that seemed to vibrate in his bones. This place is not real. Alex's thoughts slammed into him like a freight train. It wasn't the chamber. It wasn't his world. It wasn't even Earth. He wasn't even sure if this place existed in a timeline he could recognize. The power that had pulled him here, the force that had twisted reality around him, was growing stronger. He was inside something. He tried to center himself, but as he did, his body seemed to flicker, glitching in and out of focus. His heart raced, and he forced himself to breathe deeply. Control. I need to control this. The air shimmered in front of him, and a figure stepped through the distortion. It was a person, a man, but unlike any human Alex had ever seen. His skin was pale, almost translucent, with veins of light running through it like the circuitry of an alien machine. His eyes were vast, black, and almost too dark to perceive, like staring into the heart of the cosmos. "Welcome, Alex Carter," the figure said, its voice a perfect echo of the one that had guided him earlier. There was no warmth, no familiarity in it, just an empty, infinite echo. Alex took a step back. "Who are you?" "I am you, or rather, I was. I am what you will become. What all of you will become. One of the first." "First?" Alex stammered. "What do you mean? What's happening to me?" The figure didn't answer directly. Instead, it raised its hand, and the landscape around them shifted. The ground trembled once more, and before Alex could react, the horizon warped. The world fractured, breaking into countless floating pieces, each one representing a different timeline. In one fragment, Alex saw himself working in a laboratory, his younger self shaking hands with a woman he didn't recognize. In another, he was lying alone in a dark room, staring at the ceiling, his face a mask of sorrow. But then, in the largest fragment, he saw a version of himself that filled him with dread. There, in the vast distance, was a massive figure, an imposing, terrifying version of Alex, towering over a ruined city. His body was not human anymore. It was a monstrous amalgamation of flesh and energy, an entity that exuded power and destruction. "That is your future, Alex," the figure said, pointing toward the dark version of himself. "That is what the echoes seek to create." The words hung heavy in the air, and Alex's mind raced. "No, I don't want that. I'm not like that. I'm not some monster. But you will be," the figure replied, its voice calm, almost soothing. "You are already changing, as all those who have entered the echo chambers are. The transformation is not something you can escape. It will either consume you, or you will learn to control it." The world around him flickered again, and Alex saw glimpses of other people, other humans, each experiencing the same shift. Some were panicked, their faces twisted in terror as they tried to understand what was happening to them. Others embraced it, their bodies glowing with strange, otherworldly energy, their eyes reflecting the same black void as the figure in front of him. "Why is this happening?" Alex demanded. "What do the echoes want with us? The figure tilted its head slightly, as if considering the question. The echoes are the architects of the new evolution. They seek to create beings who can control space and time itself. They have chosen you, Alex Carter, because of your unique understanding of the fabric of reality. You, like the others, have been exposed to the chambers, the distortion of timelines, and as a result, you will become something far beyond human. Alex shook his head. This isn't evolution. It's an experiment. You're manipulating us. Why? The figure's expression didn't change, but its voice grew more intense. The echoes have observed humanity for eons, waiting for the right moment to intervene. You are not just subjects in a lab. You are part of something much larger than you can comprehend. This is not about domination. It is about creation, the next step in the evolution of life itself. A cold chill ran down Alex's spine as he realized what the figure was saying. This wasn't just an experiment. It was the beginning of a new era. A new species. But it wasn't human anymore. Not really. The figure began to move toward Alex, its form flickering in and out of existence. Each step it took sending ripples through the fractured reality around them. Do you see now? Do you understand? You are part of the first wave. Those who have undergone the transformation are both the architects and the pawns. You will shape the future of this reality, but not as humans. You will be something more. Alex staggered backward, his mind screaming for a way out. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. But the world around him, this fractured, unstable reality, was real enough. And the figure in front of him was not a hallucination. It was something born from the very core of the Echo's design. You are at the crossroads of a new timeline, Alex, the figure continued. A reality where humans control time and space. The change has already begun. All you have to do is embrace it. Alex's eyes darted to the fractured pieces of his own existence floating around him. He saw the other versions of himself, each more terrifying than the last. But what choice did he have? Was there any way to fight this? To keep his humanity intact? Fight it, and you will perish, the figure warned, sensing his thoughts. You are too far gone. The transformation is irreversible. The power within you is too great to be ignored. You must choose. Embrace your evolution, or be destroyed. As the figure's words echoed through him, Alex felt something stir deep within himself. It was a power, raw and terrifying, bubbling up from his very core. He could feel the reality around him, feel it bending to his will. But the more he felt it, the more his mind screamed. The images of his future, of the destruction and the monsters, flashed before him. Was this really him? Was this really his destiny? He clenched his fists. There had to be another way. But as the ground beneath him cracked open, and the landscape began to crumble, he realized the truth. There was no going back. The world around Alex began to disintegrate. The ground beneath him cracked open, splitting into shards of fractured time and space. He tried to move, but the air itself seemed to resist him, like a thick fog that clung to his every step. Each breath he took was heavier than the last, the strange energy suffocating him, suffusing his every cell with an overwhelming force. His heart pounded in his chest, and he could feel the darkness closing in from all sides. The figure, still watching him with those unfathomable eyes, raised a hand. The distortion around Alex intensified, causing the fragments of shattered reality to pulse in time with the strange hum he had heard earlier. With a flick of the figure's wrist, the ground beneath Alex's feet rippled, and he felt himself falling, as though gravity itself had lost its hold on him. Time fragmented further. His body twisted through 1,000 different moments in an instant. 1 second, he was standing on the cracked earth of this alien world. The next, he was back in his apartment, the faint smell of coffee lingering in the air. Then, in a blink, he was at the university, sitting in his office, his mind buzzing with thoughts of equations and theories that no longer seemed to matter. Alex's sense of time shattered completely. Past, present, and future overlapped into a chaotic tapestry of images, each one stretching and folding over the others. He saw flashes of himself, older versions, younger versions, living out entire lives that felt foreign to him. In one, he was sitting at a table with a woman he didn't recognize, discussing something in soft whispers. In another, he was alone in a dark room, his face covered in sweat and tears, his hands trembling. The sheer weight of all these alternate realities threatened to crush him. He couldn't hold on to any of them. They slipped through his fingers like sand. Enough, Alex gasped, his voice breaking as he struggled to maintain his grip on himself. I can't take this anymore. The figure stepped closer, its form becoming more solid with each passing moment. It was no longer just a distorted, flickering entity. It was real, in a way Alex could understand, though it still seemed to ripple, its outline bleeding into the air around it. You are weak, Alex, the figure said, its voice cold and detached. The power within you has already begun to merge with the multitudes of timelines that exist within you. The change is inevitable. Every version of you is fighting for control, each one pulling you in a different direction. Alex's head spun. He could feel it. Feel the pull of all those versions of himself, each vying for dominance. His past, his future, the versions of him that could have been. They were all fighting within him now. His mind felt as though it was going to explode. He was too many people at once. But then, a voice, not the figures, cut through the chaos. Alex. It was a soft, familiar voice. The voice of someone he had almost forgotten. Alex, listen to me. He turned sharply. The world around him stilled for a brief moment, and standing in the middle of the fractured landscape was her. Sarah. His heart stopped. It was Sarah, the woman from his past, the one he had pushed away when his obsession with time and space had driven him to madness. He hadn't seen her in years. She was supposed to be long gone from his life. But here she was. Sarah? Alex whispered, disbelief and wonder flooding his chest. How are you here? She smiled, a sad, knowing smile, and shook her head. I never really left, Alex. Not completely. The figure that had been watching them flared with rage. You are not allowed to interfere. But Sarah raised a hand, and the figure faltered, its form flickering in and out. The pulse of power around them weakened slightly, and Alex felt a brief flicker of hope. Was this real? Was Sarah really here? I've been watching you, Sarah said softly, her eyes filled with a deep sadness. I knew you'd get caught up in this, in the echoes. I knew you'd try to understand things that aren't meant to be understood. I didn't mean to, Alex said, his voice cracking. I never wanted any of this. I know, but you've been chosen, Alex. The echoes have seen your potential. They've used you, all of you, to play their game. But you're still human. You still have a choice. Sarah stepped closer, her form glowing faintly as the world around her rippled, seemingly in tune with her presence. It was as if she were part of the fabric of reality itself, alive, but not entirely bound by it. Choice? Alex asked, his voice shaking. How can I choose? Look at what I've become. Look at this place. I'm losing myself, my humanity. You're not lost yet, Sarah said, her voice full of gentle urgency. You can still fight this. The echoes have twisted reality around you, yes, but your mind, your soul, they cannot control that. Alex clenched his fists, frustration flooding his chest. I don't know if I can fight it. I don't even know where to start. She placed a hand on his shoulder, grounding him. You start by embracing what you've always known, Alex. You don't need to control time. You just need to understand it, to live within it. The echoes have been manipulating you, but they cannot take away your will. Not unless you let them. But how? Alex asked, his mind reeling. How do I stop this? By taking control of your own story, Sarah said, her voice becoming stronger, more confident. By stepping outside of the echoes' game. You are more than just a pawn in their experiment. You are the key to everything. Alex looked at her, his chest tightening as the weight of her words sunk in. He could feel it, the power within him. But it wasn't just the power of space and time. It was something deeper. It was the ability to choose, to shape his own path, regardless of the echo's designs. You have to believe, Alex. Believe in yourself. Believe that you can break free. The ground beneath them cracked again, but this time Alex felt a sense of calm. The pieces of fractured reality shifted in his mind, but he now saw them for what they were: choices. He could choose which path to follow. He could choose which version of himself to become. And in that moment, something inside him snapped. The threads of time that had once bound him to the echoes will unravel. He reached deep within himself, gathering every ounce of his humanity, and he made his choice. "I choose freedom," he whispered, the words reverberating through the fractured landscape. The power surged within him, overwhelming and pure. Reality itself seemed to pause, holding its breath as Alex's will bent the very fabric of existence. And then, he shattered the illusion. For a moment, everything fell silent. The ground beneath Alex's feet trembled once more, but this time, it was different. The fractures in reality, the strange distortions of time and space, began to slow, then halt altogether. The blinding light that had once engulfed him receded, leaving behind only the soft hum of distant energy. Alex opened his eyes and took in his surroundings, the landscape now eerily still. It was as if he had stopped the chaos, frozen the collapsing universe in place. The shards of fractured reality hung suspended in the air, like a collection of broken glass, each piece a reflection of the infinite timelines that had once tormented him. He was no longer in the alien world. The power that had consumed him, the overwhelming force of the echoes, had faded. He could still feel their presence, faintly, like an echo of something distant, but it no longer held sway over him. He had broken their hold. The figure that had once towered over him stood before him now, but it, too, seemed different. Its form flickered, unstable, as if it were fighting to maintain its existence in this reality. It was no longer the omnipotent entity that had manipulated him. Now, it appeared fragile, diminished, just like the world around them. "You," the figure began, its voice a twisted echo of its former self, "you think you've won?" Alex stood tall, the weight of his decision heavy but resolute in his chest. He could feel the power of his own choice radiating through him, not as a weapon, but as a shield, a barrier against the manipulation that had once consumed him. His connection to time and space still hummed within him, but now, it was something he could control. It didn't control him. "I didn't win," Alex said, his voice steady, but the resolve behind it undeniable. I chose to stop being a pawn in your game." The figure's form flickered again, its eyes dark and hollow. "You cannot simply walk away, Alex. The echoes have already begun the process. You are part of something much larger than yourself. You cannot escape it. You cannot undo the change." Alex's breath caught in his throat, but he refused to let the figure's words take root. "I'm not trying to undo anything. I'm trying to make it mine. My choice. My future." Sarah's voice echoed in his mind again, calm, supportive, pushing him forward. "You're not lost. You never were." He turned, his gaze sweeping over the fractured landscape. He could still see the infinite pieces of his life, his past, his future, and the countless possibilities stretching before him. It was both beautiful and terrifying. He could feel the weight of all the choices still left to be made. The figure took a step forward, its image distorting more violently now, as if it were beginning to collapse into itself. "You don't understand. The echo's purpose is to create, to reshape existence itself. The evolution we offer is the next step for your kind. The power we've bestowed upon you. It was meant to unlock your potential." "I don't need you to unlock my potential," Alex replied, his voice sharper now. "I can unlock it on my own. I always could. You've just been controlling my options." The figure laughed, a hollow, unnatural sound that echoed through the void. "You believe you have control now, Alex? You believe you can shape the future? You are still bound to the threads of the echoes. Every choice you make now, every reality you try to create, will only pull you back into our web." Alex shook his head, closing his eyes for a moment as he concentrated. He could feel the shifting tides of time and space, the intricate dance of infinite possibilities surrounding him. He reached out, not with his hands, but with his mind, with his will. Slowly, deliberately, he began to weave the fabric of reality back into place. The timelines that had once shattered before him began to coalesce, each piece gently sliding into place. The infinite versions of himself, each one a reflection of a possibility, began to merge, coming together to form a unified whole. They no longer fought against one another. They no longer sought dominance. Instead, they embraced one another. With each choice, Alex could feel himself growing stronger. The power of the echoes, the distortion of time and space, they were still there, but now, they were his to command, not his to fear. The figure staggered back, its once strong form flickering violently. "You cannot do this," it spat, its voice laced with panic. "You are nothing without us. You will collapse, just as everything else will collapse." Alex took a step forward, meeting the figure's vacant eyes with a calm certainty that burned brighter than anything he had ever felt. "I am something without you," he said, each word deliberate. "And now, I choose my own path." With a final thought, Alex pushed forward. The world around him surged, reality folding and stretching under his will. Time itself seemed to bend around him, but this time, he was in control. The figure before him began to crack apart, unable to withstand the force of his will. As the figure's form shattered, the landscape began to change. The alien world around them faded into nothingness, replaced by a calm, peaceful void. A space that felt both infinite and intimate. It was not a place, not a timeline, but a space of potential. The echoes were gone. Their experiment had failed. Alex felt the connection to the echoes slip away entirely. The strange power that had altered him, that had tried to control him, was now just another part of who he was. He wasn't a puppet in their grand experiment. He wasn't a victim. He was something more. The timelines, the infinite possibilities, were now his to shape. But what would he do with them? He turned to Sarah, who stood just behind him. She was smiling, her eyes bright, as if everything they had been through had led to this moment. Her form, too, shimmered with a gentle energy that Alex now recognized as part of the balance he had created. "You did it," she said softly, her voice full of warmth and pride. "You chose." Alex looked around, his mind still racing with the enormity of the change he had just created. The power to shape the future was in his hands. But for the first time in a long while, he didn't feel the weight of that power crush him. Instead, he felt free. "It's not over," he said, his voice strong but thoughtful. "The future isn't something that just happens. It's something we create." Sarah nodded, a glint of understanding in her eyes. "Then let's create it together." And with that, Alex Carter, no longer bound by the will of the echoes, no longer a subject in their game, began the true journey of shaping reality on his own terms. Alex sat in the quiet void, his thoughts still unraveling the enormity of what he had just done. The reality around him was no longer the chaotic landscape of fractured timelines and alien influence. It was a serene expanse, like a blank canvas stretched to infinity. He could feel the potential of everything, a vast field of possibilities awaiting his choice. But with that power came an unspoken responsibility. The echoes were gone, but their legacy remained. The threads of space and time he had just reshaped were fragile. The ripple of his actions would spread outwards, echoing across every timeline, every reality. He could feel it, an underlying pulse, like a heart beating beneath the surface of everything. His choices would ripple through those infinite versions of himself, through the countless possibilities of humankind's future. Would they too rise to meet their new reality, or would they resist, clinging to the old ways? "Alex, you're not alone in this." Sarah's voice broke through his thoughts. He turned to her, her form shimmering like a mirage against the infinite background. She was no longer just the comforting presence he had once known. She was part of the very fabric of this new existence. She had evolved too, become something more than what she once was, just as he had. The power of the echoes had altered them both, but not in the same way. It hadn't consumed them. Instead, it had opened them, allowed them to transcend the limits of their former selves. Alex stood, his gaze sweeping across the landscape. I know, but I can't help but wonder, what happens now? She stepped beside him, her hand brushing his as they both stared into the vast expanse. Now, we choose. We shape what's next, but it won't be easy. The echoes weren't the only ones watching us. Alex felt a subtle shift in the air, like an invisible force pressing in on them. He turned sharply, his senses alert. He could feel something, or someone, out there. He wasn't alone. Who else is there? He asked, his voice tight with a mix of uncertainty and resolve. Others who have been watching, Sarah replied softly, her tone serious. Others who've seen what we've become and what we can do. They'll try to control this new reality, to steer it in their direction. Alex narrowed his eyes. So, we're not the only ones who've been changed. Not by a long shot, Sarah said. The Echo's experiment wasn't the only one of its kind. There are others who have taken a similar path, who've been influenced by forces beyond this reality. Some of them want to see this power grow, while others want to destroy it. As her words sunk in, Alex's mind began to churn with possibilities. The power he had gained wasn't just a gift, it was a magnet. It would draw the attention of other forces, others like the Echoes. The new reality he had just shaped could easily be twisted by those who wanted to control it for their own purposes. We can't let that happen, Alex said, his voice firm. He could feel the weight of the decision he had just made pressing down on him. This power, it's not for them. It's for us, for humanity. We have to protect it. Sarah nodded. And we will. But first, we need to understand the full extent of what we've created. There's more to this than just us. The changes we've made aren't just isolated to this place. They've begun to ripple through all realities, through every timeline we've touched. Alex took a deep breath. His mind raced as he tried to comprehend the scale of what Sarah was saying. The fabric of space and time was no longer just a map of linear events. It was now a network, interwoven and infinite. Each decision, each shift he made, resonated across countless worlds, affecting all who inhabited them. It was a web of interconnected possibilities, stretching into the farthest reaches of existence. And he could feel it all. Every timeline, every choice, every echo of himself, every fragment of humanity that had passed through the echo chambers. We have to find them, Alex said, determination setting in. We have to find the others, those who were changed like us. We need to make sure they understand what's at stake. Sarah's eyes glinted with the same determination. You're right, we can't let the power fall into the wrong hands. Not again. Suddenly, the ground beneath them began to ripple. A crack ran across the expanse of the landscape, breaking through the smooth surface of the void. A low hum vibrated through the air, and Alex could feel the shift before he saw it. Something was emerging, someone. Out of the crack stepped a figure, their presence radiating with the same unnatural energy that Alex had once felt within himself. Their form flickered between realities, a shifting mass of light and shadow, as if they were part of the web of time itself. Welcome, Alex Carter, the figure said, its voice both alien and familiar. It had the same resonance as the echoes, but it was distinctly different, more raw, more untamed. Alex took a step forward, his body instinctively tensing. Who are you? The figure tilted its head, its form rippling with the distortion of time. I am an echo of a different kind. A remnant, if you will. I was not a part of their experiment, but I was touched by it nonetheless. I have seen what you have done. I have seen the change. Sarah stepped beside Alex, her gaze sharp. You're one of them. The figure chuckled, its voice distorted by the echo of 1,000 possibilities. I am not one of them. I am more than that. And so are you. You think you've gained control over time, Alex, but you are not the only ones with that power. Alex's heart skipped a beat. The realization hit him like a wave. He was not the only one who had evolved. He was not the only one who had been changed by the echoes, or by whatever force had set them on this path. The figure smiled, a slow, knowing grin. There are others like you. Some of us are here to guide you. Others are here to stop you. Alex's mind raced. Stop me? Why? The figure's smile widened, but there was no warmth in it. Because you, Alex Carter, are not the one who is meant to shape this reality. There are greater forces at play, forces that have been watching, waiting. Your actions have disturbed the balance, and now they will come. Sarah stepped forward, her eyes burning with anger. What do you mean? What forces? What are you talking about? The figure's form flickered and dissolved, its voice fading into the void. You will find out soon enough. But know this: you are not alone in this world, and not all who have gained the power of time and space are on your side. As the figure's presence vanished, the crack in reality began to close, but the hum of energy lingered, a reminder of the danger that was closing in. The ripple had begun, and Alex realized, with a chill settling in his chest, that the true battle had only just begun.